Hey guys, we're back. So, what I want to do is make some silicone inlays. And this is a little bit of a holographic window film. Now, I know this will transfer over because I made my own mold. I've already cut it out. I put my silicone putty around it. I put some silicone from a caulk gun and around it so it wouldn't leak. And then I used pearls to put in the edges, and I've already made a mold out of this. I made a piece. Let me get it and show it to you. Oh, let's see. This is it. So I made this from this, and then I took that and made a permanent mold. And you can see the holographic. So I want to do an inlay instead of a mold. And what an inlay does is just a really thin slice of silicone. And you can put it down inside of a mold. This is a druzy silicone piece that I made. You can see it, a little shimmer there with a little druzy edge. And I used crushed glass for that. But I just want a circle one that when I use this mold, I can put it in it and it will transfer over without being on the mold. Now I've already measured this, and it is slightly less than 4 inches, so like 4.5 roughly, a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I want this flower, and I don't need a lot of it because I'm going to cut this out here. And I'm just wanting the flower part. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit bigger. Throw this to the side. And then give me just a second to get my supplies, and I will show you what we're going to do with this. Okay, so what I've got is the circle maker. I've already set it for a little more than 3.5 inches. You find your center. Now, I don't want to go all the way through this, so I'm just going to go around, and this will cut this for you. If I do make a place in the center, I'll just cover it over with some tape and fix it, because this has a backing layer on it also. Now, I've never used this, so I'm not sure how well it's going to work. Okay, so it did a good job. A few little places I'm going to have to use the scissors here on. Try to just say where it's cut it. There we go. Just a little piece there that's hanging on. And there. Okay. Now it made us a hole in the back, and it looks like it may have went through to the front, but we will see. I'm going to trim these edges up. A few little places I didn't cut all the way through. Need some practice with that thing, don't I? Okay, now I'm going to peel this back off. No, maybe. Okay, give me just a second to see if I can get this broke loose. Okay guys, I got this peeled off. Well, I'm going to lose where I had it. Here it is. So this just peels off the back. It didn't go through, so that's good. Now you can see this could have been just a little bigger, because it will fit right down in that mold, and it will look really pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on my silicone board, and I'm going to take my heat gun, that glue, drip, and I'm just going to go right around the edge and make up just a little area to hold this down. Maybe. My glue isn't coming out just a little bit, and now it's doing nothing. There it goes. Okay. Now I want to glue this down first to my board. Well, I don't know why this isn't coming out. I may have to get out my other heat gun if I can't get this one to work. This is the one I always use. It's sitting over there dripping, so I thought it was ready. And this heat gun, the glue, it's not hot enough to melt the plastic. Yeah, I don't know why it's not coming out. Maybe today is just not going to be a good day. Get a little and then it stops. Alright, I'm going to finish this and then I'll be right back. Okay, I think I've got the glue gun working now. So I've just went around, I've glued it to the board. Now I want to raise the edge just a little here because I want to be able to hold my silicone in. And I want to make sure there's no areas in there that have a hole, because I don't want my silicone to run out of this when I pour it in there. Now this doesn't have to be very high because the inlays you make very thin. You don't want them to take up all the room in your mold. You just need them to lay on the bottom of the mold. Okay, just trying to make sure I've got it high enough on the edges over here. Any little strings that go across the center, so you know how hot glue does, it just kind of strings out everywhere. You can move those, get them out of the way. I will not fill this all the way up. I just want to make sure I've got a good depth. Okay. Now I will let this dry. I'm going to mix up maybe 20 milliliters of silicone. And we'll be back and pour this. Alright guys, as you can see, I've added a few more here. With this, I thought, why just do one? I got this Faux leather, and I cut out the dragonfly and the butterfly the same way I did this one. Glued them down with the hot glue gun, and then made a little lip on each one. Same way with the pink one. Just a Faux leather. Cut out my little rose I wanted with my little tool here. Close that back. This has a little safety guard put on it so you don't get cut by that razor blade. Alright, now I've mixed up 40 grams of silicone. I used T-Expert silicone rubber for mold making. This is a 15A sure hardness. You want one that's really thin when you're doing inlays, because you want it to be very, very flexible. You don't want something that's really stiff, like say a 30 to 40 sure hardness that you would use to make a mold. Okay, and then all you do is take a little bit of this silicone. We want it really thin, and we're just going to spread it out over this just enough to cover. I did pop this silicone in my debubbler for around 2 minutes because to me this brand, I don't know if it's where it's really thin or what, but it gets a lot of bubbles, and I know it is self-degassing, but they don't always come out if I don't pop it in the debubbler, and that's why I put it in there, and it just takes 2 minutes. It doesn't take long at all. Do not put a silicone cup in your debubbler. It won't work. Put just a little bit more in that one. You can see it's not taking very much at all. I just want it to be barely covered. Let's do this holographic one here. Make sure you have the holographic side up. You don't want to do the back side because then you won't get the holographic. And this is just, like I said, just a window film that I had found on Amazon. And I know it transfers over because I made the mold out of it before. Okay. There's a few little bubbles in there. They should pop on their own, but if they don't, you can help them. See, I think even 40 gram will be more than enough to do all 4 of these. And then maybe in our next video, we will use one of them. Just spreading it out, giving it a little help. It is self-leveling, but I find it does better if I help it a little bit. Look across here. That one in the back looks really good. The holographic looks really good. So does that one. Last one. Oh, I think it's going to be just enough. This one probably didn't need all of it, but there's no point in wasting once we've got it mixed up, right? Spread to the edges. And this doesn't take, I think, maybe 4 hours or so to cure. Do not use anything with UV resin to try to make a mold with silicone. Silicone will not cure, I have found from experience, if you use UV resin. That last piece that I did, it had a little divot in one of them that I made, because I made 2. And I thought, well, I will cover it with some UV resin, and then I'll make my mold. Well, it didn't cure. I had to take the piece out, and it'll cure once it hits the air, and let it cure on its own. So it didn't transfer my pattern over because of that. I did it twice. I did one was I did a set of coasters. I wanted my own shaped coaster, so I made some coasters. They weren't to my liking on the top. It looked like they had a little scratch or 2 on some of them, so I did the same thing. Coated in UV resin, put them down, made the mold, and then none of them cured. Everything cured except for the parts that was touching the UV resin. And I thought, I didn't think it was the UV resin. Never crossed my mind. And then when I did the second one the other day, I figured it out. It was the UV resin. So I started searching the internet to find out some information, and Some things said UV resin would cure, others said it wouldn't. Well, from experience, it does not cure. It says if your UV resin isn't fully cured, it won't cure. Well, I had mine under the UV lamp for 10 minutes and it was just a very, very thin clear layer. It was completely cured. So I just avoid it. If you want to make a mold, use epoxy. Alright, I don't see any bubbles in all of those. Every one of them have degassed already. They're even. None of them are leaking. The glue holds all of that in, so that's awesome. So what we will do is let these cure. We'll come back and demold. See you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so these three are cured, but for some reason that one has not cured yet. You can see where I've touched it and messed it up a little bit. So I'm not sure if that one's going to do okay or not, but we're going to go ahead and demold these other three and see how they look. So I'm putting on new gloves because of silicone will keep everything that you touch. It will pick up all of it. You see where I cut my mat when I was making the circles? Okay, let's see if we can get these pulled apart without damaging them. I need something a little stronger than that. Okay, let's use this. Just going along the edge, trying to get under there and break it loose from the edge to where I can get my finger. There we go. Now I'm doing this very gently around the edges first because this is a very thin layer of silicone and you will rip it very easy. So there we go. There is our butterfly. Isn't that great? Butterfly inlay. Let me get a black board to put this on. Maybe this way you will be able to see them as I lay them out. Maybe not. Usually I put this on acrylic. And then we can keep this and reuse this over and over just for these. Or you can rip it off, keep this piece, and then just re-glue it every time you're ready to make a new inlay if you need a new one. But you can use these over and over again. They're just like a silicone mold. They're not a one-time use. These inlays aren't. I have a box of inlays I keep all these in. And there is our dragonfly. Just going to put him on the board. And these will stick to just about anything. Now let's see how our rose did, since it is a different type of fox leather. Different design. Oh, that one's came out really well. Isn't that pretty? Won't that be pretty in a coaster? And then we'll have to wait on that center one. But there they are. I don't know if you can see those or not, guys. I hope so. But they turned out awesome. And you can trim the sides up around it if you like. Okay. We will give this one a few more hours and come back and see how he's doing.